Okay, let's see if this works. All right, present. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kelsey Shivel, and my presentation is called Net Gains, the Power of Nutrition in Soccer Performance. So, just a brief history of soccer. Soccer, or football, as it is known most everywhere else in the world, is a global sensation. Soccer, in its modern form, dates all the way back to the 19th century England. Some historians believe the earliest official soccer club was founded in Edinburgh in 1824. However, many speculate that unofficial clubs existed as early as the 15th century. Modern soccer was refined in England, spread throughout Europe, and then globally. So, in the 3rd and 2nd century BC, the first known game involving kicking a ball originated in China. The game was played with a ball made from stitched leather stuffed with feathers, and the game was called kuju. Fast forward to the 7th century, the first recorded use of balls filled with air were found in ancient Greece. Ball games were unpopular at this point in time and not permitted in the Panhellenic Games, which I thought was an interesting fun fact. The Romans then adopted this and eventually brought it to Britannica, or what would be Great Britain or modern England. And so in the 12th century, the earliest forms of soccer in England involved kicking and punching the ball and implemented a less structured and more violent method of playing. So, is soccer considered anaerobic or aerobic? Well, it is considered aerobic. Soccer is predominantly an aerobic activity as it is a high intensity sport that involves running between an average of 5 to 7 miles for a duration of 90 minutes. The aerobic energy system has the unlimited capacity to make ATP as long as oxygen is present. This system also relies on the catabolism of macronutrients, which is one of the reasons why nutrition in soccer is extremely important. So, what about the anaerobic and phosphagen energy systems? Well, while soccer players at the elite level will likely utilize all three of these energy systems, the general consensus is that soccer is majorly aerobic activity due to the long duration of continuous activity. Soccer involves long distance running just as much as it involves short bursts of energy like sprints. So, the training required for soccer athletes, there are three main skills that are required of soccer players, in my opinion, which are speed, agility, and endurance. And with speed, players need to be able to accelerate at a moment's notice, as well as perform bursts of intense speed at high intervals. Sprint and strength training are very imperative to improve this skill. Agility, players must be able to move and change direction of the body very effectively and very quickly. This skill requires training in coordination, balance, and speed. And endurance, players must be able to continue the previously mentioned rapid bursts of speed for a long duration of 90 minutes. Therefore, aerobic training like long distance running is required. Or maybe cycling or rowing would be another good aerobic activity for training. As for agility, maybe ladder drills, and for speed, just sprint training. Energy needs. So the average height and weight of a female soccer player, I decided to go with a female soccer player for a lot of these recommendations we're going to do. However, my presentation does involve male and female athletes. So the average height and weight of a female soccer player can depend on a lot of things. Some sources look at average height and weight based on position, while others look at average height and weight based on team or club. Based on the U.S. Women's Soccer League, the average would be a height of 5'5" and a weight of 145 pounds. And a side note, again, the average duration of a soccer match is 90 minutes. That's how long the games last. Okay, and energy needs. Here we have our protein recommendations. Energy needs based off the Mifflin St. Jeor for females with a 2.0 activity factor. We have our carbohydrate recommendations. At 8 to 12 grams per kilogram of body weight for moderate to high intensity exercise. Fat recommendations for the majority of athletes is 20 to 30% AMDR. And back to protein, for an endurance athlete, it is 1.2 to 2.0 grams per kilogram recommended, or 12 to 20%. But I also added the team sport athlete recommendation as well, seeing that soccer is a team sport. But I primarily, in a lot of my calculations, went with the endurance athlete recommendation. So here you can see all of the recommended ranges. So just a couple of notable figures in soccer. We have Mia Hamm. She was a United States female player in the 90s and early 2000s, and she won the World Cup a couple times, I believe, and competed in the Olympics. A very outstanding, fantastic role model for young girls everywhere. I read something saying that if you were a girl in the 90s or early 2000s, you definitely had a poster of Mia Hamm on your wall. So some of her eating and training habits were very limited. I could not find very many online. However, I did find that in her interviews, she emphasizes the importance of carbohydrates as fuel. She also suggests eating whole grains, encourages eating every 4 to 6 hours, emphasizes the importance of staying hydrated. She also reports playing soccer every day from an early age of 5 years old. She also reports that she would train a minimum of 2 hours every day during her peak sports performance, and that was like bare minimum. Not much else is found, again, regarding Mia Hamm's dietary and training habits from the 90s and early 2000s. Moving on to Cristiano Ronaldo. Even if you don't follow soccer, you have to know who this guy is. He emphasizes the importance of a cardio-based warm-up in training. He enjoys cardiovascular training like rowing and running. He lifts weights consistently, does a lot of strength training. He consumes a high-protein diet with lots of whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. He definitely emphasized in his interviews to avoid high sugar and high processed foods. A fun fact, he has a dietitian on staff. He also enjoys seafood and steak as his primary sources of animal protein. And he eats at least 6 meals a day or every 3 to 4 hours. So, some common injuries in soccer. We have lower extremity injuries, which consist of sprains, fractures, and cartilage tears in like the knees, the ankles, etc. Overuse lower extremity injuries, the most common one being shin splints, patellar and Achilles tendonitis, so like knee and like back of ankle soreness, like chronic soreness and inflammation. Stress fractures are very common. Upper extremity injuries usually occur from falling with outstretched arms or when a player makes contact with another player. Wrist sprains and fractures and shoulder dislocations are very common. Head, neck, and face injuries are not as common, but they still happen on off chances. Some corresponding MNT or nutritional recommendations for these injuries. For preventative nutrition care, I would recommend adequate energy consumption and adequate protein consumption. For reactive care, I would suggest calcium and vitamin D rich foods for bone health. If there's a stress fracture, a break, shin splints, anything of the sort, I would also recommend vitamin C and collagen for ligament tears or joint and tendon problems, and just adequate nutrition and antioxidants for anti-inflammatory properties to take care of some of the things like patellar and Achilles tendonitis. This is just a few of the many. So moving on to literature overview of nutrition in soccer. Article 1, dietary habits of elite soccer players, variations according to competitive level, playing, position, and sex. So I thought this article was very interesting because most experiments look at the effect of nutrition on performance, but this one was kind of doing the opposite. It was looking at the effect of soccer, the sport, on nutritional decisions among players, which I thought was very interesting. This research project was completed in Valencia, Spain. The lead researcher's name is, forgive me, Jamie Sebastiarico, who has an extensive background in a lot of important things needed to complete this experiment and this study. They have worked credibly at the Area of Nutrition University Clinic of Nutrition, Physical Activity, and Physiotherapy facilities, and etc. A lot of places. Very credible person. Interestingly, rather than seeing the effects, again, of nutrition on performance, researchers were examining the effects of soccer on nutritional choices among the sexes and position played. So, like forward or goalie, for example. The target population was the elite soccer players of the Valencia Academy, both male and female. Club members were given a questionnaire with a total of 24 questions divided into two sections. The first section collects age, team, sex, and player position. The second section includes 21 questions regarding dietary habits. Statistical analysis was then performed after this questionnaire to see trends and concepts such as the effect of player position on dietary habits. This study found men consume more carbohydrate-rich foods, fermented foods, frozen foods, and red meat compared to women, and women consume more lean meats. Limitations were inclusive of applicability to soccer sport context, small study population, and, of course, self-reported data. Certain positions in soccer may require specific nutrient recommendations, such as increased energy or increased protein based on the amount of work done. Players in certain positions may experience a need for more energy or may experience more hunger cues, causing them to eat more or eat less healthy foods or experience deficiencies in certain micronutrients that may cause them to crave certain things. Just very interconnected web of different things that could happen depending on what position you play. And I thought that was the most important takeaway. Article 2 is titled Comparison of the Effects of Pea Protein and Whey Protein on the Metabolic Profile of Soccer Athletes, a randomized, double-blind crossover trial. It was not disclosed where this research was conducted for some reason, and the lead researcher, Luis Loureiro, I don't have a good accent, but who is a doctorate student at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Researchers in this study are evaluating the effects of pea protein versus whey protein on biochemical and metabolic parameters in specifically male soccer players. Again, the target population is male soccer players. There were 20 total participants. The methods were inclusive of under 20 years of age, male soccer players. They participated in a double-blind, randomized crossover intervention study. For 10 days, each received either half a gram of pea protein or whey protein. Blood samples were used to evaluate metabolic and biochemical markers, and substances such as creatine kinase, aspartate transaminase, alanine transaminase, lactate, urea, uric acid, and creatinine were observed. The results were inclusive of the pea protein group exhibiting lower creatine kinase. Did I say that right? Yes, creatine kinase post-game. The whey protein group exhibited the biggest change in metabolite profiles post-game. For example, the amino acids arginine and taurine. And then there were no differences in metabolites 72 hours post-game. Limitations were inclusive of small sample size, and researchers suggest more studies need to be done in larger, more diverse populations. And this research shows that pea protein and whey protein have different effects on the body and athletic performance. So, some influences on nutritional decision-making among athletes. Some potential influences to consider when counseling an athlete is that their family, peers, and coaches may all be telling them different things, and they have no idea what advice to listen to. For example, conflicting messages about nutrition, body composition, and performance from family, peers, and athletic staff, as previously mentioned. The media can play a big role, especially if an athlete is experiencing like body dysmorphia or already experiencing disordered eating, seeing other people posting videos. If you've ever seen the what I eat in a day as like a model or what I eat in a day as blah, blah, blah. And it's like nothing. They're eating nothing. So the media can have a huge effect on what athletes think they should eat. Or if a soccer professional makes a video and shows what they eat, maybe that menu is unattainable for these athletes because it's extremely high quality, expensive food. Not everybody has a ton of money, things like that. Sponsorships can affect nutritional decision making, which I never thought about until doing this research. Say an athlete with a college has a $2 million sponsorship at the University of Kentucky for some reason, and they have to promote this product, this specific brand of chicken, Purdue chicken, who knows. That will affect what they eat. They might start eating more chicken breast, who knows. And then cultural beliefs, of course. That's going to play a big factor in all nutritional decision making. For example, if you have a Muslim athlete, they will not be able to eat anything that is considered haram, which is inclusive of pork. So you cannot recommend that to an athlete who is in the Islamic faith. Moving on to prevalence of eating disorders in soccer. So current research shows that eating disorders are in fact an issue in soccer as a sport, not only at the casual and club level, but the elite level as well. So a cross-sectional report from 2021 found that female soccer players are more likely to have disordered eating than male soccer players. But the report also states that underlying factors or predictors of an eating disorder were related to perfectionism in competitive athletes. So type A kind of people. While women are more likely to have an eating disorder, there is no proven difference in risk between male and female. My role as a dietitian working with a soccer player experiencing an eating disorder is to provide support, counseling, and education to help the athlete overcome the disorder and achieve desired athletic performance in a healthy way. So the visual aid I would use is the female athlete triad. So as you can tell from the previous slide, women experience disordered eating more so than men typically, at least in the sport of soccer. And so working with female athletes experiencing an eating disorder, whenever the time is right, this visual aid may be applicable to them, just showing how low energy availability, low bone mineral density, and menstrual disturbance are all interconnected. Addressing body composition changes and banned supplements. So when addressing body composition changes, it can be a sensitive topic for some athletes. And if a coach is specifically requesting an athlete to change their body, it is imperative to explain to the coach that the athlete's relationship with their body image and food must be assessed before suggesting something like this to an athlete, especially in soccer, where soccer is not an aesthetic sport like bodybuilding or maybe wrestling even. But if applicable, I would sit down with the coach and athlete and discuss the rationale and the changes desired. Then I would discuss the potential impacts on physical and mental health as well as performance. And then working together, a plan will be developed that prioritizes the health and performance goals of the athlete, all while being safe and effective. So, addressing banned supplements. I will ask the athlete to explain what they want to use the supplement for or what their end goal is by using it. I would also ask the athlete how they believe the product is going to enhance their performance, and ask the athlete why they think they cannot achieve peak performance without the supplement. And then using these questions will encourage the athlete to be self-introspective and discover their true performance goals. And then I can use this opportunity to teach the athlete how their goals are achievable through nutrition and training without supplements. So some supplements targeted toward athletes, specifically soccer players, is creatine, SARMs, and pro-hormones. Now, I don't believe women take SARMs and pro-hormones as much as male players do, but doping still is a big problem even at the elite level. So creatine is an organic compound that facilitates the recycling of ATP in the skeletal muscle and brain tissue. It is approved by the NCAA and is commonly used by athletes for increased energy and reduced recovery time. 1-androsterone is a prohormone that converts to 1-testosterone in the body, acting as a catalyst for creating and having the same effect as an anabolic steroid. So basically, it's a loophole to take anabolic steroids. RAD140 is a SARM, a selective androgen receptor modulator, and a SARM is a non-hormonal, scientifically researched mixture of chemicals that are not meant for human consumption. However, they are taken to induce the same effect as anabolic steroids. And some people argue that even though SARMs is a hodgepodge of random chemicals that aren't super studied, they argue that it's safer than prohormones, which truly message with the natural production of your hormones that can lead to cancers. So, as for side effects, with creatine, there are no known serious side effects of taking it if taken appropriately. If taken in excess or there is an allergic reaction, of course, side effects can occur. For SARMs, possible side effects is mood swings, acne, hair loss, nausea and vomiting, changes in libido, liver injury, and testosterone suppression. Possible side effects of prohormones are infertility, shrinking testicles, progression of balding, breast growth, severe acne, reduced naturally produced testosterone, cardiovascular problems, and liver problems. So as you can see, prohormones are kind of intense. So moving on to a sample vitamin and mineral meal plan. Research suggests that high-intensity athletes may have increased micronutrient needs. However, there are no official guidelines regarding the micronutrient needs of athletes at this time. In this example, I will be using the RDA for a female of 21 years of age. She is also a soccer player. And then here you can see if I can move my face out of the way. Sample meal plan to meet all micronutrient requirements. Sample hydration needs. Another table kind of showing how to meet those hydration needs. Again, based off a female athlete, 21 years of age, weighing at 154 pounds. And here I'll have an in-season meal plan versus a modified off-season meal plan. Here is the in-season one. And then here is the modified off-season one. And as you can see, I've redone some of the math to get specific values. Rather than having a 2.0 activity factor, I have a 1.7 activity factor, as work is not as strenuous in the off-season. There are no matches unless it's scrimmages or kind of club-based, really. But the work is less. It's mainly conditioning and practice. And then here you can see what we have. Now, ideas for refueling. So these snacks here at the bottom, if you can see, we have trail mix, fruit, peanut butter crackers, granola bars, and liquid carbs like orange juice because it gets into the bloodstream faster. These snacks are good sources of medium to high glycemic index foods, beneficial for glycogen restoration, electrolyte replacement, and muscle repair. A good pre-game or pre-workout meal would be a turkey sandwich with pineapple and cottage cheese or yogurt and bananas. This meal is light and easy to digest, and it will maximize glycogen stores and minimize hunger while providing immediate energy. So, to conclude, soccer is an awe-inspiring sport that requires maximum levels of dedication and skill. Before this presentation, I did not know much about soccer. Now I have a newfound respect for it and its players. In the future, I believe working with soccer athletes at the professional level would be fun and rewarding, especially knowing my nutritional and fuel recommendations potentially help them achieve peak performance. 4 things I've learned in my research are inclusive of, but not limited to: soccer is a highly collaborative sport. It takes everyone in the team to make everything happen. Not only is soccer physically taxing, but mentally taxing as well, especially at the elite level. You have hundreds of millions of people with high expectations of you, and I can't imagine what it feels like to let those people down or to not win a game. Some people even receive death threats. Soccer is the most popular sport in the world. America is literally one of the only countries where it is not an important part of the culture. And soccer is more than a game. It's a lifestyle, it's a community, it's a lot of things. But anyway, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you. And here are my references. I had a lot of references. All right. Thank you.